Every so often, life takes an unexpected turn and we find ourselves in a difficult financial situation, unable to pay our bills or our rent. For me, it was a simple policy change that led to the removal of almost all of my online store listings for my business, and I lost about 80% of my revenue overnight. Unable to pay my debts and my bills, I was forced to file bankruptcy and start all over. Hey everyone, this is Cody with Rent Reporters, and today I've got some tips for you if you ever find yourself in a similar situation, and I'll also share the one thing you should never do if you can't pay your rent. Now, let's not sugarcoat this. You are going to be facing an uphill battle, and ultimately your results are going to vary by the individual landlord that you're dealing with. But you do have options that will increase your likelihood of successfully negotiating your situation. Before we get any further though, please take a moment to like and subscribe to our channel so we can provide you with awesome new resources like this every week. First and foremost, try not to panic. It's a lot easier said than done, trust me, I know. But you likely have far more options and resources available to you than you may realize, and getting to work and knowing where to look instead of panicking can make the difference between an eviction and keeping a roof over your head. Next, understand who you're dealing with. Are you renting from an independent landlord, meaning an individual, or are you dealing with a large property management company? Who you're dealing with makes a big difference in your negotiation options and tactics, so let's spend a little time discussing those before moving on to the next tips. Independent landlords are typically just regular people with day jobs who saved up enough money to afford a down payment on a second property, meaning that they likely have a mortgage on not just their primary residence, but also probably on the rental as well. And typically landlords are making about $300 to $500 profit per month, which, while nice to have, isn't exactly rolling in money. Put plainly, they can't afford to pay their mortgage without the rent payments being made, and they can lose their property. Now, what that means for you is that asking to skip your rent payment altogether with a landlord like this probably isn't going to get you anywhere because the landlord themselves won't be able to afford it. But you might have other options. Does your landlord pay for gardening or maintenance work that needs to be done, like plumbing or electrical, that you have the expertise to handle? Offer to take care of that work so that they don't need to pay for the additional work in exchange for a reduction in rent. Do you have experience in carpentry or cabinet making, painting, tile, flooring, anything like that? Maybe there's renovations that your landlord wants to do that you have the ability to perform. Renovations increase property value and are seen by landlords as an investment, so they may be willing to let you perform that work in lieu of rent. Not to mention you'll have a nicer upgraded place to live afterwards. The point is, even though it may be hard to see it, most independent landlords are human beings with financial needs just like you. They're not diving into pools filled with gold coins like Scrooge McDuck. They're going to be much more concerned about losing their property that they've spent years working hard to acquire than they are about their bottom line. Now, with a property management company, the same work for rent tips still apply, but you might have additional options. Management companies are going to primarily be concerned about their bottom line profits, and the fact is, it's more expensive to have a vacant unit that they have to spend marketing and advertising money on, money spent on background checks for new tenants, administration costs for processing new tenants, and it's even more expensive to go through the eviction process. Management companies might also own their property outright and be more in tune with government programs available to them, so they may be less impacted than independent landlords if you can't pay for a month or two. So will your financial situation improve in the next couple of months to where you'll be able to pay in full like you had been? If so, make sure that they understand that, because it's probably cheaper for them to take a reduced rent or even no rent for just a couple of months from a reliable tenant like yourself that they're able to trust than it would be to spend that money acquiring a new tenant that they don't have any relationship with. Point being, these companies are most likely not going to be as worried about losing their property like an individual landlord. They're much more concerned about their bottom line profits. If you've been paying your rent on time up until now, more times than not, it is going to be in their best financial interest if you continue renting from them than if they have to find a new tenant. So try to appeal to them in that way. Pay what you can and offer to help with maintenance and work as well so they can maintain as much profit as possible. It might be hard to think about their money when you're so worried about your own, but you have to know your audience and speak the same language as them if you want to improve your chances. Once you understand who you're dealing with and what their needs and motivations are, talk to them and see what they're willing to do. Best case scenario, you can work out an arrangement that works for both parties right then and there. But what happens if they can't or won't budge? The next thing that you're going to want to do is educate yourself on tenants' rights laws. And I won't be able to tell you all of these because they vary from state to state and even city to city, but I can help you with where to look. So the best place to start is actually the Housing and Urban Developments, or HUD's, website. They actually break down the renters' rights by state, provide handbooks of frequently asked questions for tenants and landlords, and even provide links to legal resources. For example, under Georgia's section, there is a link to the Atlanta Volunteer Lawyers Foundation. From there, you'll have access to free legal representation for qualified tenants when it comes to certain tenants' rights cases. So look up your state on the HUD website and see what resources are available there. Link is in the description. You'll also want to know the specifics of your individual city as well. For example, by Googling Los Angeles renters' rights, I was able to find a 124-page PDF on the lapublichealth.org website that spells out the specific laws inside LA County, including the exact situations when a landlord is allowed to terminate a tenancy. Now, if your landlord is not following the laws spelled out in these handbooks, you may be able to keep your residence as long as you know your rights. So take the time to learn them, especially because additional rights were granted thanks to a certain event in 2020. Now, you can use resources like norent.org to help you build a letter to communicate with your landlord to better help with your case. But alright, let's say that the landlord won't budge and the landlord is also within the rights to terminate the rental agreement. You still have options. The next thing that you're going to want to do is explore homelessness prevention programs. There are dozens of federal and state government programs, as well as hundreds of nonprofit organizations to help provide assistance and prevent homelessness. A great place to start is helpingamericans.findhelp.org, which has a whole section of their website dedicated to different federal programs available, along with state-by-state breakdowns of programs not only for homelessness prevention, but also for income assistance. For example, in Georgia, there is a low-income home energy assistance program to help people pay for some of their utility bills, and there's also the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families program, which provides cash to low-income families with children under 18. In addition, there are numerous individual websites like stayhousedla.org, which provides localized assistance and resources to those in LA County. So take the time to do some Googling for homelessness prevention programs in your area that you might qualify for. It might just take a single phone call to get cash in hand so you can get your rent paid and buy yourself some time to improve your situation. As a final fallback in desperate times, there is no shame at all in asking strangers for help via crowdfunding platforms like Indiegogo or GoFundMe. As much as it might hurt your pride to do so, it's better than losing your home. The people on these platforms not only have the means to help, they want to help. So don't be afraid to use it as a final option. Now, one thing that you should never ever do when you can't pay your rent is to go deeper into debt and use something like a personal loan, title loan, or credit card debt. Personal loans and other forms of debt can actually be great tools for certain situations, but paying rent is not one of those. You may have seen the offers in the mail or ads online stating that they'll get thousands of dollars of cash in your account in just a few days, and I know it can be really tempting, but what ends up happening is the clock starts ticking on the loan repayment immediately. So now, not only do you have to pay rent, you also have several hundreds more dollars to pay every month on top of your rent, and personal loans are typically 3 to 5 years long and will cost you thousands in interest. So even after getting your financial situation back on track, you might not be able to afford the loan and your other obligations. Most personal loans or title loans also come with personal guarantees, stating that you will forfeit your property in the case that you can't pay the loan back, and you can have your assets like your car, furniture, or even home taken away from you until that debt is paid. Take it from me, it's something that I know firsthand. So are there any tips that I left out? If you know any, please leave them in the comments below to help out the community, and don't forget to like and subscribe to Rent Reporters for more videos like this. Until next time, this is Cody, and thank you for watching.